of how it used to be, but it's not always like that back then, especially with like Lita and stuff like that. So maybe it wasn't as bad as we thought. It just wasn't a lot of it. It was like very like one match at best, quite far down on the card with some sort of bra and panties match to follow. That was the only problem. There was some crazy stipulations, but Trish Stratus, I mean, she held her own, and you know, it was interesting because I wish they would have. The only thing I'll say about it that really peed me off, like to no end, it really bothered me, this match, was the fact that this match got no promo to it. I was like, there's such a great story. Why did they not hype this? Why did they not go and reflect on Trish Stratus as a performer? Why did they not do that? Was that because they might be bringing too much of the stuff they don't want people to see? I don't know. I found that really odd. Like, this was a big match to me, and yet they didn't really. It wasn't like it come off great because of the two people involved, but they didn't put much weight behind this as much as I thought they should have. And I think this should have actually, like, if I did it my way, I said in my vlog, like, I think it's one of those matches that you'd actually have at the end of the show. I know it's not a title, but I've seen it before. They've had Randy and Brock do it. Like, they happen sometimes. Taker and Brock done it. Like, this is one of those moments. I don't think you're going to get this again. So for the women's, I thought this was quite a big statement, as Booker T says. But Trish, you know, before the show, she was doing these great interviews for the sort of outside media. She was saying this was going to be her last match, how important it was for her to do so that her kids could now see her wrestle. And yeah, like you say, she looked good in more ways than one, and she, you know, she looked like she'd not missed a beat. I mean, she was in there with, like, arguably the best women's wrestler currently at the moment, as the ambulance is just coming from Matt, who's just falling down. No, so I was kind of thinking, like, you know, she's in there with arguably the best, and yet, you know, there's not a lot of hype gone into this, which was a bit of a shame. But I think they did a really good job of having it like where you wasn't sure if Trish was going to win or not. But the only good thing about this is it got the time it deserved, just under 17 minutes, which was cool. Yeah, a little bit clunky in areas, but I think easily 4 stars for me, and the best match of the night. It's a spoiler there, but no doubt about it, this was the one that I was just disappointed that WWE didn't put more behind it. I think like a video or something would have been cool to package, considering they have every other video go up for a lot of these other matches. It's like that's a story they could have told easily. So yeah, really good match there. Great to see Trish back, and good to see her get a farewell in front of her home fans. I think that went off well. Next up, Matt, Kofi Kingston with the New Day coming out against Randy Orton. Gotta say, fans looked like they were not into this at all from the get-go, and they certainly weren't into it by the end of it either. They were pissed. But then I spoke to Matt about this off air, and I said, like, look, the fans that were there, you weren't into it when they were coming out, and then you get the ump when they do this at the end of it. Like, you didn't give it anything anyway. So I kind of thought it would be a little bit hokey like this. I kind of suspected this because they want to kind of continue this a bit further. But yeah, it wasn't terrific stuff. I mean, you know, just under 17 minutes again, and I think this is one of the things AEW have been talking about, isn't it, Matt? They'll never do these finishes, apparently. They're never going to do these, you know, no contests or DQs. That's the one up they reckon they're going to have. And this is a classic example of using that. Like, you can. The thing is with this sort of ending, you can pull that card, and I've seen it with Triple H and Steiner once. Remember when they had those metal? God. Yeah. But you've got to be careful, because even though it's placed in a position where you think, well, that's just not the main event anyway, so fans should be fine, you never know. And I feel like this is just one of those times where it just would have been nice if Kofi would have got the complete rub at SummerSlam, rather than. We know it's going to happen eventually, but I just feel like SummerSlam would have been better if they'd have just had Kofi go over, because he looked good, and he's like little promo before they went out when Drake came in and all the rest of it was pretty well done. I feel like he owned that mic. He's pretty decent on it, and it was a good opportunity, I think, to have him go over on somebody who can give him the rub of a big name for a change, because he's only really had Daniel Bryan. What's your takeaway from this one?
Well, I think sometimes these kind of finishes are necessary. I mean, I know it's all right for AEW to say that they won't have these kind of finishes, but realistically, they already have. Of course, we had the Cody match with Darby Allin, and that went to a time limit draw, which is kind of, it's not as bad, but there's still that way to sort of get both men out of it without taking a loss. And WWE doesn't have a time limit, so this is the route that they had to go down. And it's unfortunate when it happens. You feel like you've paid for something, $9.99 or whatever it is you've paid, but you want to see a conclusion. We will get that. It's probably going to be a Night of Champions now, I imagine. So I'll be interested to see how the rematch goes, because I feel like the match was shaping up better probably than people thought it would. Maybe perhaps people thought that they wouldn't be able to gel together. Perhaps they thought that the match would be sloppy. I mean, I feel like Randy Orton is that kind of guy. When he's into something, he gives it 110%. But when he's not, it's going to be a long, drawn-out, sluggish match. But he seemed to be into this, so perhaps he's going to put it all into the next one, and they're going to come up with some good ideas. But unfortunately, this one, it's even difficult to rate, because there was no real finish to it. But I was enjoying what I saw before that point. I can only give it a 3 because there was no real conclusion.
Yeah, 3 for me for the same exact reason. They didn't do anything wrong. It's just a bad finish. This wasn't really creative enough. I know what they were trying to do. They were trying to give everybody something by having the stuff at the end take place with the tables out. But I think
that's another point. I'm going to add to that. Randy Orton outside the ring looks at Kofi's kids and oh, what an animal! He's looking at his kids, and then what does Kofi do in front of his kids? No, that's fine. That's totally fine.
Back to you, Carl. So that one only a 3 for me. Matt, just briefly, what did you make of the announced team tonight? Was it an improvement? Because I did have some emails. They were a little bit like Renee's only saying 2 words at best every time. I don't get what's going on with him. Like Corey was trying to do this really weird stuff. It was just a bit awkward again, between the 3 of them. I don't think 3s are great all the time. Maybe it's just better for two people doing it. But Renee is just like a spare part at the moment. I mean, she's just saying these like really basic statements that mean absolutely nothing. They don't add anything. And I think she's got more potential in that, but I think like the role she's in as the third person, it's not a lot you can do. I mean, she's probably getting fed these lines as well. So, but what did you make of it presentation wise, like from the whole night? Was it?
Yeah, the commentary team was all right. I mean, I just take it for what it is these days. Corey annoys me a little bit sometimes. He just seems to be difficult just for the sake of being difficult. And I don't like it when he's rude to his other broadcast teammates, when he tells them to shut up and all this stuff. I feel like that kind of infighting between them, it's been done. Yeah, it's not great.
It's not like Ventura and Gorillas. That chemistry is just not there.
They can definitely do better. I mean, I'm not being biased by saying it, but Nigel McGuinness, when he does his commentary, he plays the bad guy role, the heel kind of role, if you will, and he does a better job of it. He's not that disrespectful to his broadcast partners, especially Mauro. They get on very well, so I feel like there's better ways to do that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there, totally. So, Matt, I'm going to let you take away the next match, which, of course, is Bray Wyatt. Coming into this one with the new character. Lots to talk about in this, even though it was a short match, but lots to take away from this. I've got to say I'm coming out of this positive, quite frankly. First of all, what did you make of... Well, first of all, Finn Balor come out in white, which I just thought, oh, God, this is so... I know the way this is going. What I thought was interesting, though, Matt, I don't know if you picked up on it, but something I did see on the pre-show was JBL called out and said, why isn't Finn Balor taking this more seriously and coming out as the demon? I thought, exactly what I'm thinking. Like, finally, someone's allowed to speak, which would have been like what Jesse would have said back in the day. So, yeah, I mean, that's the obvious, isn't it? But then when I see him come out in white, I was like, okay, so there's the white and shining armour, and you know what's going to happen here. What did you make of that entrance, Matt? Because from our reaction, that's got well over, apparently, with everybody, the entrance and... slightly tweaked music towards it. What did you make of it, Matt, and the entrance so far?
Oh yeah, nice and dramatic. I did enjoy it. Of course, he came out with his little lantern, but this time a nice twist on that was that it was his own severed head. It just draws you deeper into that twisted psyche that he is supposedly supposed to have, and you got to kind of buy into some of it because, you know, a lot of these are his own ideas, and you got to have a strange mind to kind of come up with this kind of stuff. I was hoping that his entrance music would be something different. I mean, yeah, it's different, but is it different enough? I was hoping for something completely sort of rewritten, but I'll settle for the reworded, well, not reworded, just like a different singer. Isn't it? It's a woman
it's like
now.
a bit of a, and then like a heavy metal part of it comes in. I didn't mind it. The thing is, it's one of those things, isn't it? Because Bray Wyatt's entrance is unique as it was, and it's kind of like you don't want to get rid of that because the Firefly stuff and everyone with their phones. When you're in that live crowd and you see that, it is quite special. I think it's like Undertaker-esque. It's not, you know, maybe it's not quite as big because he hasn't gone on to do anything yet. But when you're at the moment and you're there as a live audience, I will say it's one of those special times. You look around in the arena and it's quite a sight with everybody doing the same thing. So you don't want to lose that. So I felt like they've kept the best bits about that in this as much as they can. But yeah, the mask business and everything else looked pretty damn decent, I'd say. I mean, I was quite surprised how good it looked.
Yeah.
The big thing for me, Matt, is when those lights get turned up, then what does it look like? Because, you know, it's one thing when the lights are dimmed and you get those moments, but what's it going to be like when the bell rings? That's the problem. And it didn't look out of place to me. I was quite happy about it. If anything, I felt like Finn got a little bit too much offense in, but I'll buy it. The right guy won, thank God. Because if he'd have lost that, this would have been all for nothing completely. The potential for this now, Matt, I mean, how many reboots has Bray had in the past? Loads. But this one, does Vince look at this and think, hang on, this is what I've been looking for all along? Because the reaction, people were really into it. And it was one of those times where I didn't think it come across like hokey and silly. Like, it actually... Like that stupid stuff with Randy Orton a couple of years ago at WrestleMania was... I hated it. You know, the graphics going on and all that. I didn't want to see anything like that. But I felt it come across really well. The only things I hated about this match was Finn Balor's silly reactions. I hate when baby faces look stupid. Like, yeah, he does that thing in the corner. You've seen him do that tons of times. It's just he's wearing a mask. I mean, come on. So I did feel he was looking a bit silly in those moments. But other than that, I think the match was good. And I think fans were into it. I mean, yeah, they were doing those chants, which might be a bit odd. Wowie, yowie, whatever. Yeah. He was sat there. But other than that, I felt like it was fine. What did you make of the actual in-ring stuff that we got from him? Because especially with using the mask.
Yeah, I mean... he didn't change his offense up that much, but he did enough changes to make it a little bit slightly more fresh. I mean, he had a more aggressive style, I'd say, the way he went straight for him at the start of the ring bell, went straight for his neck and stuff. So I guess, you know, that's more of what I want to see from this. And it is going to be a successful reboot. I'll go out there and say that. I feel like the fans are solidly behind him. You know, he can't really do much wrong. It can only be a case of whether Vince likes it or not. But he's got to have that side to him as well, because he's had characters like this in the past. It is very much like the Mankind kind of vibe coming from this, that twisted kind of character. And now he has that mandible claw. It seems like the natural progression. You know, there's always got to be a space for someone like that, and he's filled that perfectly. So I am really looking forward to seeing what he can bring to the table. And of course, down the line, there's going to be the Fiend versus the Demon. But please, just hold off on that little while. Let him have some time to sort of develop his character and shine on his own before we have to get drawn into which one's the more powerful, phenomenal force.
Yeah, and here's the thing with that. I know everyone goes on about, I want to see him against The Undertaker. He's the guy. It's too much sometimes, because it only is special when you've got an opponent who's completely the opposite. That's when it works out the best. But when you've got two guys trying to do it, it's like Matt Hardy and Bray teaming up. It's just too much. Woken Matt, and oh god, you know, it's like, who can be the most wackiest? And that's probably what will happen when Finn Balor comes out. He'll be doing the thing with his tongue 1,000 times and smiling, and Bray will be, and that's where you don't want it to go. So I feel like having him up against guys that are nothing like that was probably the best for him for a little while. Potentially, Matt, is this title contenders character, or is this just going to be one of those ones that's like marquee matches and, you know, like is this